Hey guys, I was gonna record a gun gripes video for you guys today and talk about something completely unrelated, namely that people, for whatever reason, when they sell used guns, neglect to clean their rifles down, or pistols, or whatever they got, I guess, used firearms. And this AK-74 that I just got came in, and it was absolutely filthy, smelled like cigarette smoke, which is another one of my biggest pet peeves. But when I was, working with it and starting to clean it down, I noticed something really pretty egregious. And this is something that, I gotta admit, in my own ignorance, I just didn't check when I went to go do my 4473 and FFL transfer. I assumed good intentions on behalf of the seller. And, the guy was like, oh yeah, it's a really great rifle and it shoots really good and all this other stuff, but the astute AK guys among you are going to see what the problem is looking at it right now. This is a DDI produced AK-74, chambered in 5.45, and 5.45 guns are pretty hard to come by these days. So I went on Gunbroker recently. I was looking for one. I wanted to get an SLR 104, but I couldn't really afford it, so I settled for this one. Made an offer that I thought was kind of a lowball, and to my surprise, it was accepted, and I'm starting to see why. Check this out. See what the problem is? Yeah, that's the barrel pin. It's sticking out almost 1/4 of an inch, maybe? 1/5 of an inch out of the trunnion. Now, I mean, I have a shop press in my shop, but I paid over retail for this gun. This is a used rifle. When Classic was selling these things, originally these come with a Waffen Works receiver on them. Of course, with DDI's deal, they bought Waffen Works and basically got all of Waffen Works' inventory of receivers and components and stuff. They had a whole bunch of Bulgarian parts kits laying around, and basically what happened was DDI produced them on Waffen Works' receivers and parts kits, and the seller was able to at least find his invoice from Classic where he bought this gun for $500. He bought a whole bunch of them. My guess is he's probably like a fly-by-night type, reseller type guy. He goes and he finds really good sales, buys parts or buys guns and sits on them for a couple years and then resells them at a profit, which is marginally illegal because that's technically gun dealing, but okay, whatever. Long story short though, unless he's got an FFL, which he doesn't. Long story short though, what it looks like is that pin is either walking out over time, or it was incorrectly riveted in, and my guess is it was incorrectly riveted in. I don't know if you can tell just by looking at this. You see there's like a gap behind that pin on this side of the receiver, on the trunnion. My guess is that the barrel's pushed in a little too far, and if I put a go, no-go gauge on this, it's probably going to be pretty atrocious. I don't really care what the guy says. At this point I can't really trust him. Let's see if I can illuminate that a little bit better for you. Oh man, we got the refresh rate of those LEDs. But yeah, I mean, basically it's this is like unsafe to shoot. So it doesn't matter what the guy says. In my opinion, this is unacceptable. Again, like I said, this is kind of my ignorance. I did not check this when I went to go receive the rifle. So I might be screwed. I might have to actually press that back in, which is not the end of the world because again, I've got a shop press. But at the end of the day, that's not something that I really want to risk. I'm not a gunsmith. I'm a machinist. I'm a knife maker. I can do things like that. But I'm not impressed, not at all. And the guy was pretty. He was honestly. This is the kind of person that really annoys me. The first FFL I wanted to use, this one particular individual, and he is an individual. That's why I say he doesn't have an FFL. So I wanted to use a shop that I really like. I'm friends with the owner. here in town, but I didn't realize that he doesn't take transfers from individuals. And so when we started out in the conversation trying to get an FFL set up for this gun, basically he called up my FFL. The guy's name is Mike, and the seller, whose name is Moses, basically reamed out my friend Mike about not taking transfers from an individual. He called him an un-American commie something or other. And, you know, that really bothers me because my friend Mike is a fantastic person, and he is a quintessential American. He started a business. You know, he is a, you know, an American entrepreneur, and, you know, for somebody to treat somebody like that, you know, I know there's a lot of like trolls and toxic people in the gun community. There really are. I mean, it's the same with any insular community. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's really appalling for him to treat my friend Mike like that. So I don't think a whole lot of this individual. But anyway, long story short, it really bothers me to see this kind of thing. I mean, that is really egregious. Would you fire that? I mean, seriously, if you know you guys who are like AK experts, like Robski, if you ever watch this video, and I'll put an Instagram post up and I'll tag you in it, or, you know, Tim or any of the other guys who are really into AKs or whatever, would you fire that? Because I wouldn't. And, you know, my general opinion is this is a gun that's not good to go. If it came out of the factory like this should have been sent back in the first place. Shame on Classic for not doing it, if that's the case. But my guess is it probably walked out over time, and this barrel is just, you know, moving around in the trunnion. I don't see any evidence of like the pressed portion of the barrel coming further back in the trunnion, but again, you can see how grungy and disgusting this is. That CLP I put on, it's kind of melting the carbon. But man, I'll tell you what, it's pretty bad. You know, and the gun is, again, I was going to make the video about people who just don't clean their guns before they send them off to new owners and whatnot, and really, really annoys me, especially when you pay like good money for weapons like this. You know, and this is a serious rifle. I mean, it should be a serious rifle. DDI had a pretty good reputation before they folded and went under. You know, from what I understand, and see, I didn't know this because my frame of reference, my Overton window, is from a couple years ago when I was into guns, and I took a couple years off to basically save up money. I was basically buying a house, getting married, and then I bought a car subsequently. And so I basically didn't have a lot of money for guns. I got out of it for a couple of years, and you know, I kind of blinked and DDI went under. And I think at some point they were going to get accumulated by or acquired by Palmetto State Armory, and then that deal fell through. PSA decided to, I guess, build their own AKs, which is probably a good decision. You don't want this baggage. Seems like either whatever tooling or parts kits or whatever Waffen Works had are just basically toxic, and you know, the people who are producing the rifles don't seem to really be putting together right. You know, it's pretty concerning. So I don't know, man. Bugs me. I'm gonna get in touch with my seller and see if he'll take it back. Unfortunately, I've already done a transfer into my name. You know, it sucks. And you know, he could legally come back and say, you know what, screw you. It's all yours now, and you've got to take care of the issue yourself. In which case, it's going to be on me because DDI isn't around. I guess worst case scenario is I could send it over to like Troy Sellers at InRange, or you know, maybe get in touch with Lee Armory or one of the other really good reputable builders, and have them fix it. But at the end of the day, what I've got here is basically a kludge. You know, this thing is kind of foobar, and really, really bugs me. So. Hate to see this, and you know, again, like I said, I just don't think this is safe. I would not fire this gun as I see it. You know, that barrel pin's basically not even in the trunnion on this side. So what you basically have is this barrel is only being held in by this side of the receiver and trunnion. So I mean, it's like, what happens if a round, you know, is over pressure or has a double powder charge, or God forbid, you know, some other issue happens? This thing could blow a barrel off the front of the gun. You know, that's really serious. Like, somebody could get maimed or killed if that happens. And it's really, really serious. So, oh well. Hopefully the seller will take care of it and take the rifle back. Yeah, it's a serious problem. I'll see you later, guys. Check your stuff before you transfer it, especially AKs. AKs are one of those guns, they have to be put together by a craftsman. And this is my general feeling about AKs now, is you can slap together an AR-15 and it'll probably work pretty well. But AKs pretty much have to be built by a craftsman who knows what they're doing. So when you buy an AK, first off, check all the rivets, check all the pins and stuff, because this is my own foolishness. I didn't do that. But secondly, you know, make sure that you buy from a reputable company. I would probably avoid Waffen Works or DDI, which is kind of sad because, in my opinion, I thought DDI was really squared away. Back when I was looking at them, like, they had been garnering a really excellent reputation. And it's pretty sad to me to see this kind of thing. And again, I don't know if this is something that came out of the factory from DDI or if it's something that developed over time. But either way, it's unacceptable. See you later.